The world was moving as fast as always until a virus came and brought us all to a standstill. Now masks and sanitizers are our best friends. The usual slogan, stay home, stay safe. But what about those people who still had to go to work? Now today I'll be meeting and greeting with a very interesting lady, a health journalist who is on the front line to report the COVID-19 pandemic. She goes by the name Nasibo Kabale. Nasibo Kabale is a health and human interest features writer with the Nation Media Group, Nairobi, Kenya. She was given state commendation for her coverage of COVID-19. I am at the Karai Indian and Swahili cuisine with the very lovely Nasibo Kabale. Nasibo, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now describe yourself in 2 minutes.
I am Nasibo Kabale, a health and science reporter for the Daily Nation. I'm a mother of one.
Amazing.
I have a little 3-year-old. And I guess this is a hard question.
It's like when you go into an interview and you're like, who am I?
Yes, that's you think you know yourself until when you're asked to tell me about yourself, and you're like, but yeah, that's
so
basically
what's that one fascinating thing about yourself?
I am introverted, very much so. I like to keep to myself. I make promises, like I can tell you I'll visit you and then I won't. I'll switch off my phone and sleep. So
oh my God.
I love to sleep. I love to keep to myself. I love my me time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's you and yourself.
Yes.
So how was life growing up?
Oh, wow. I grew up in the barracks. My dad was an army man. He, for the most part, like while I was born, my mom was studying. So we forged a really good relationship in the beginning, from the beginning. So we were close. He would carry me on his back when he was taking me to nursery school because it was just close by. Life was very simple at first because it was just the small family, us, just the 3 of us. So growing up was, at first it was very interesting, very lovely. And then boom came everybody, my siblings, my sister and my brother. And then, of course, coming from a Cushitic family, uncles and aunts coming in and all that. But I really had a very interesting childhood. I went to State House Primary, which is just close to where we used to live, so we would walk to school and come back home. Being in a house that was full of people and people minding their own business, everybody's up to whatever they're doing. You tend to. That's why I got to focus on myself. And I wrote a lot, so that's where I forged my love for writing. I used to have a journal. I would write, today was like this and this and this and this. And I remember my first experience with writing came when I was in class 7.
Amazing.
There was a writing competition and we were told to write about your role model, and it was a Maneno magazine. So the thing is, I won the competition. The magazine came to my school, and then the headmaster said, you have to read this. And I was like, no, I'm a writer, I can't.
Yeah.
So it was really, that's when I knew, I'll stick to print, because going in front of the assembly and reading that thing was very hard. And I stuttered, I stammered. It was really hard, and it's when I realized, you know what, I'll stick to writing. For me, TV was never much of an option. Yeah.
So a lot of girls want to be on TV, they want to be, we consider that as journalism, and we don't look much into writing.
Yeah.
Now, how was your journey, your career path? Were people accepting of it?
Even at home, it was not really accepted. My dad pushed me into law because I was really good in English, and he thought, you know what, you'd make a great lawyer. Yeah. And then when I said I wanted to do journalism, he thought, well, TV is fine. So he never really considered the print option. Yes. And I remember even in college when we were selecting the courses, everyone did broadcast, and I was the only one. So they couldn't have a lecturer just come and teach me. So I had to specialize in broadcast.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because I was the only one in that class, and they couldn't come and teach me by myself. So I had to do broadcast, and that was my specialization. But I was I was not really interested, and even with my lecturers, the lecturers who taught me realized this very fast. Some of them worked for Nation, for Standard.
Yes.
And I remember my first job as an intern was from my lecturer who taught us sub-editing.
Okay.
He noticed I was very passionate, and he's the one who gave me my first internship. So it was really, for me, it was a given. I never for one second considered doing broadcast. And I guess it goes back to who I am as a person. I'm shy, and I'm more into just typing and sinking my thoughts into writing. So it was an easy decision, a no-brainer for me.
So what does it take to be a writer? Maybe there is someone watching out then wondering, you know, what does it take to be a writer? Do you have to have perfect English, you know, great punctuation, or what do you need?
Okay, yeah, you have to be good in grammar.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that, you know, you can't learn. Even if, you know, you have a problem with grammar, you can always sort it out by reading. And mostly, even I, as a journalist who has practiced for a while, I take time to read, because in reading I get ideas, I get new methods of writing, I get to understand different modes of writing, I get to understand how to better myself as a writer. So there's nothing that you can't learn. If you're a child and you know you're not good at spelling, try do spelling
The tests,
with a friend, and you see if you can do it, and then put everything into, if you really believe that you want to be a writer, put everything into writing. Like, if just write about your day. It doesn't, you know, today was sunny, today was, and then check it out and see if it's really correct in terms of grammar, in terms of all that. So there's nothing that you can't learn, I think. If you're very passionate about it, you can learn.
Now, Nasibo, print media is highly dominated by male.
Yeah.
Now, you being a Muslim woman, amongst all these giants, how is it?
I've worked for 3 print media houses, and I have been the only Muslim female in print. Currently, I think I'm the only one in print at Nation, the Muslim lady in print. I've never put much thought into it, like, oh, I have to prove myself. But I've always thought of myself as bringing something new to the table, bringing ideas that are different, and explaining things. Like, when a story is, like, let's say now with COVID.
Yes.
I take time to explain to people what tayammum is. Like, when I'm explaining to them, I tell them this is the rites are different with the burials now as opposed to before, and I get to bring something
new on the table. Like, you're teaching people your religion through a very simple way.
Yes. And I don't just teach through my writing. I also have, like, in the editorial meeting, I get to explain to them so they better understand, and they also relay this in our print, in our paper. So I think I play a certain role, but not a major role. But for me, what is very important is my hijab. I think putting it on, and while being in print, some girl out there is gonna look at me and say, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it. Just, that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Now, Nasibo, has your religious beliefs ever conflicted with the work that you do?
Yes, sometimes. There's a story I was writing on abortion.
Okay.
It was a collaboration between the Fuller Project and the Daily Nation. It was published in both the Daily Nation and the Telegraph. Personally, with religious beliefs, you don't believe in abortion, but this story was about women's rights and their rights to to their reproductive system and all that. So it was really hard not to employ my religious beliefs into this story, but sometimes you have to cut yourself off from the story and relay the message. And for me, that's how I overcame this conflict between my religion and my work. Yeah.
Now, you come from a very rich cultural background where there are some practices that take place, with the girls. Now, for example, FGM, has that ever affected you?
I remember having that conversation with my mother. I didn't know it happened. So one day my aunt said she was taking her daughter, so she was coming to get us. And it was my mom and my grandmother and myself, and we were just having a conversation. My mom said, yeah, your aunt says this and this and this and that. And I told her, what do you mean? I thought this only happens to boys. And she said, no, it happens to girls. And she told me about her experience and how, painful it was. And I really couldn't sleep because I kept thinking about it. And then when my dad came home, I remember they asked him, like, this is what my aunt has said, what do you think? And my dad immediately said, no, this is not going to happen. So for me, my dad being a champion of anti-FGM, coming from a community that believes in this, he taught me to separate religion and tradition at a very young age.
Okay.
And that's why his support was very pivotal in my career. He told me to stand out. He gave, like, I only have 2 names, both of them mine. He said, never ever take a man's name. So go with your names and just march into the world and be yourself. Don't let anyone, try and tell you what to be and how to be yourself. Just manage yourself in every single sense of the word. So for me, my dad has been my biggest support. He gave me that strength, and push, which is different for most Muslim girls. I mean, it comes from your mothers and your aunts, but for me, it came from my dad. Yeah.
And now in your career path, have you ever written a story about FGM, like coming from that setup? Yeah. And how was it like, when you're penning down all the stories of FGM and remembering how, you escaped it? I mean, many girls still today, it's a fact, they're going through it.
Yeah.
People using the tagline religion when it's just culture. So how did that make you feel?
I actually did. I went to Isiolo.
Okay.
I went to Isli. And funny enough, actually, the person who told me where it's done in Isli is my dad. He's the one who told me. We had this conversation before I did that story. He told me, yeah, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to ask. This is, like, he gave me directions on how to do the story, funny enough. So it was like when I heard from people who had gone through it and from the woman who does it. Yeah. I mean, it made me realize I escaped something so painful, something that will take, you carry for the rest of your life. And I couldn't imagine doing this. And so I wrote it so passionately. Yeah.
Now, we will be taking a short break and we'll be right back, because in the next segment, Nasibo is going to be sharing her experience reporting the COVID-19 pandemic. We were all told to stay home and stay safe, but Nasibo had to go out there and tell the story. Now, Nasibo, you are amongst the frontline journalists, reporters to go on the ground and tell us the story. What was your reaction when you were called and told you're going to do this?
So I remember a month before the first case of corona was reported in the country, we had a discussion, a strategic planning meeting. Yeah. So the only 2 females in the meeting, our editorial manager and myself. And she turned to me and told me, you look scared. And I told her, well, the conversation sounds so morbid based on how we are discussing it, because we had not seen corona in the country. But based on what we had seen outside, it seemed like a death sentence. A death was coming to us. Yeah. That's how it felt like. So when the first case was reported and then, a few more cases, my boss asked me, I want to go, he told me, I want to go to, the isolation wards. Okay. And we had few cases there at the time. Would you like to go? I said, yeah. I was excited, more than scared. So we had our PPEs and we went into 2 isolation units that day. Okay. We went to Mbagathi and Kenyatta, inside Kenyatta. So my boss did the first round. There were only two patients in the ward. He interviewed someone, and then I went around and interviewed someone outside the window. That is in Kenyatta. The second one we went to was in Mbagathi. Now that was something else. I went in alone with a photographer. Okay. My boss wasn't there. So when I came out, I didn't realize the impact until when I came out and I was shaking, like my hands were literally shaking. And
what did you see there inside?
It's not about what I saw, but it was just seeing human beings, like just me and you. And for you're sick, like you have something like a flu. But for someone to come and take care of you, to give you meds, to give you food, they have to dress up in this gown. They have to, you know, spray themselves with chlorine. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like, it's just a flu. Like, that's what I felt like. I imagined myself having to stay there for those many days because I had some disease, and then people have to, you know, come and see me like I'm something in a museum and wear this, you know, white outfit. It felt, I felt, that's why I felt like, you know, I was just shaking.
Yeah.
And then when I got home, my daughter was, you know, waiting for me.
Yeah.
And I remember telling her, no, don't come, don't touch me.
Okay.
So I wore like really old clothes, shoes and all, everything. I remember just throwing out the shoes because I know I dipped it in, you know, chlorine and everything, but I just couldn't. I sprayed myself in a chlorine mix, in a bleach mixture with water. I sprayed myself down. I showered. I still felt like, you know, I could have picked it. I remember looking at the pictures and seeing some hole here. I'm like, you know, maybe it
so you became paranoid to some extent.
Really paranoid that night. So after the visit, I was told not to go to the office for a while.
Yeah.
I stayed home, and when I felt like I was not presenting with any symptoms, I'm fine. I went back, and you know, it was just a wild experience. And then I think that was my first experience and my first interaction with corona. And then the second one now was real, more than real. I didn't have PPEs this time, and I interacted with someone who had it. We went on a trip, and throughout the trip, we didn't realize it until much later. She said, you know, I have a cold. We said, okay. We were we were just a few of us, and we said, okay, that's fine, that's okay. And then on the second day of the trip, she said, you know what, I can't smell anything.
Okay.
And when we went to dinner, she couldn't taste the food. She kept adding salt. I'm like, why are you putting so much salt? You know, I can't taste. And she said it so casually.
Yeah.
Okay, we looked for a thermometer. We tested a temperature. It was normal. But the temperature is the biggest corona lie. I don't think people, you have to associate temperature and corona anymore, like a lie.
The bigger signs
to
it.
Yeah. So on the second day, she's still downplaying it. But I asked her in the morning, do you still feel like you can taste and you know the smell, the senses came back? She said no. And that's when we had to we were like, no. We have to cut this trip short, go get tested. And when we went to get tested,
how was it like? Before even you tell me the results, how was it like? Because when you look at the internet, it looks like a very scary experience and very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So the thing is, imagine you like, it was the whole drive coming back to Nairobi was just quiet, and everybody with their masks on, and you know.
Now is when you're taking corona very seriously.
Yes. We were like, you know. So we got to the hospital. It was at night. They took our samples. So the testing experience was not really painful, but very uncomfortable. They put that stick in, and then they wiggle it a little. And then, you know. And then they did just the one for the nose, nasal swab. It was uncomfortable, tears were coming, you know, really uncomfortable. But immediately after testing, I went home. We got in a bit late, so I sneaked in the house. My daughter didn't know I was around. I was just waiting for my results, and I waited. And then we got the results, and she turned out to be positive. All of us in that trip turned out to be negative, alhamdulillah. But we were told we need to quarantine for 14 days.
So how did that affect you and your daughter? Because she's a small girl, and of course it's just mommy, and now mommy's saying, I need to, you know, seclude myself from you, don't come next to me. What was that like?
There were days when she was angry. There were days when she would understand. Like, there were days we made a game out of it. She would come through the window and say, hi, shopkeeper, I'd like to buy some milk. We would make it. And then there are days when she wouldn't understand. She was like, I just want to hug you, Mama. You don't want to touch me. I don't even want to talk to you anymore. Like, she sometimes, you know, it's very hard to explain this to a 3-year-old. But we took it in strides. I had to wear a mask throughout. She couldn't understand. When she came close to me, I told her, no, you can't come close. But when I finally went to take the second test, it was just a precaution because I had not presented with any symptoms. And I was talking to Dr. Majid of the Aga Khan Hospital, and he told me, you know, you're fine, but if you need, just go and get tested. I went and got tested. I remember the first thing, I just went, I got my results very early in the morning. So she was still sleeping. I went and picked her up and hugged her, kissed her, and I was like, oh, thank God, finally, we're done with this phase. Yeah.
Now, what has this pandemic taught you? Because, you know, in normal times, you could just go out there with your pen, paper, phone, you know, you're doing the stories, you write, and you're home. But today, you're with your sanitizer, your mask, you need to check your temperature, and life is just not normal anymore. So what has this pandemic taught you?
First of all, it's taught me about... So I appreciate that we don't have to shake hands anymore. I really like that. I don't like, because most people don't even wash their hands. So I like that experience, but I appreciate life more. I think of life as a gift, and I have to also, I've learned not to assume that people will take the necessary measures to be safe. I have to take my safety measures. I'm not going to assume that you're taking the same measures and pull my guard down. So I've always kept my guard up. And also with my daughter, it's taught me to, you know, keep things very much, be very cautious when it comes to everything, because I have to take care of her. Yeah. But the most important thing, I think, is with my psychological, with my mental health. I've had, you know, the experience of being in quarantine alone, you know, being all alone, really did a number on my mental health. I can't lie. I got into some stress, and, you know.
Which is normal. You're human at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I think the doctor from Aga Khan, was it Dr. Majid?
Yeah.
He really did. I think at that point you need a lot of support, what I've got from you.
Yes.
So apart from this, you know, serious life of yours, what do you like doing for fun?
That's the thing, actually. When you know, when you write for a paper, people think, oh, she's so serious.
Yeah, she's a very boring person.
Yes. Newspapers are considered boring, I guess.
Yes.
But I don't take myself so seriously, though. I think of myself as a very fun-loving person. I like spending a lot of time with my child, and I like sleeping. If I could sleep all day, you know, if I could get my child to sleep, and then I could sleep.
That's every mother's dream out there.
Yeah. I like spending my time, but like I really enjoy just spending my time alone. When I'm not with a book, I'm watching a movie. We watch cartoons. Her favorite is Peppa Pig, or we're watching SpongeBob. I don't get to choose the movies in my house, much like I don't get to choose the food she gets to eat, because most of the time it will be either spaghetti or chicken. So it's, you know, you get to live your life through somebody. As a mother, it's very different. I think my role and my love for things have really changed since I had her, because now I have to, you know, I have to make room for what she likes, and, you know, it's very different. Yeah.
It's beautiful to see that you have your career going, but at the end of the day, you're a mother, and you put your life out there, you know, to serve the people, but at the expense of your own life.
Yeah.
Now, what is your final message to girls out there watching you, people who want to become writers, and also your message to people out there who think coronavirus is a joke?
Okay. So first, in terms of for girls out there, I grew when I finished high school. I used to read the paper a lot because I wanted, you know, and I wanted this to be my career. So I found there's a name I really attached myself to, because she came from my community, and I saw that name, and she was the only one who was writing at that time. And so I would like to tell them the same. If don't read me and my work only, but I'm saying, if you can see a name that, you know, you can associate yourself with, if you can, not just in journalism, not just in print, even in broadcast, like if someone sees you on TV, they know I can do it as well. So the same, if you can see someone, a Muslim lady out there who's doing something, then what's stopping you? You can do it. So don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything just because you're Muslim. Nothing. And just because you're a Muslim woman, there is nothing that you can't do. Then the second thing in terms of corona, I've seen it. It's real. I've gone to the wards. I've seen people who have suffered through this disease. I've gone into quarantine because of someone who has it. So it's not a joke. It's really there. The curve is flattening, but that's not an excuse to, to take the measures any less seriously. Yeah.
Now, Nasibo, thank you so much for gracing the meet and greet show. May God keep giving you this strength to serve us, tell us stories, and may many girls out there get hope through you. And we grew up knowing newspapers are boring, but here it's a passion for someone, and it's amazing to see how we are all different and we love different things, and it's okay to be you. Yeah. So, as quoted by Muhammad Ali, he says, "Service to others is the rent you pay here on earth." I've been your host, Aisha Khan, and this has been the Meet and Greet Show.
We give thanks and praise to Allah for what we are. Mashallah, tabarakallah.